Have you ever wondered what really goes into creating a relationship that is filled with trust, intimacy, and love? We did. So we started having conversations that took us deeper into our own relationship. Then we decided to record those vulnerable conversations to share with others. Now we are excited to have you join us as we bring those conversations to you weekly.
I'm Sonia, a boudoir photographer and relationship coach who believes that everybody is worthy to love themselves and be loved in their relationship.
I'm Carolyn, a transformational life coach on a mission to support others to let go of trauma, beliefs, and negative body image so that they can become the amazing humans they were born to be.
Are you ready to connect more deeply, to create deeper intimacy, and get truly curious about what is possible in your relationship? If so, let's get started now.
Welcome back to another episode of Sonia and Carolyn, where we have the hard conversations.
Yeah, no shit.
So we wanted to bring a conversation around bridging the distance between you and your person. Why would we want to talk about that? Glutton for punishment. Because maybe there's a little distance going on between the two of us. I think there's a lot, right? And so most relationships go through periods where they don't feel like they're as closely connected, or they want to get something back in their relationship. What do you want back in your relationship? Fun. I like fun. Anything else? Less responsibility. Okay. What about you? Um, Intimacy, connection, better communication. Huh. And if it seems like you're constantly having the conversations and talking about the same things over and over again, it's because they continue to show up. And when we don't deal with what's really going on, they're going to show up in any way that they possibly can. And they're going to continue to show up until you deal with them. So what we wanted to do was to break it down. How do we bridge that distance between the two of us? Well, the first thing that we need to do is to be honest with one another and recognize that there is distance between us, and that things have been a little bit challenging. So recognizing that for your relationship with your special person. Uh, the other thing, I have something on my shirt, probably my dog. Um, the next conversation that we'll have is around sharing fears. We have to be able to share our fears with our partner, just the same way that we need to be able to share in an honest way. And the next thing that we'll talk about after that is going to be listening, because we have to listen to each other. And we've talked about this in other episodes. And if this is something that you want to go a little bit deeper on, then go back and find our episode on communication. I think it's called
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Or effective communication?
Yes.
Or it's are you hearing me or can you hear me?
Right.
Something like that.
Something to that effect. Anyways, we'll probably post it in the link as this will be going up onto YouTube. Exciting. And then finally, we'll kind of wrap this little series up on what do you need right now? What needs to happen now in your relationship in order for you guys to move forward, for us to move forward? And we'll take this all from our experiences, but just understand that this can be used in any way that your relationship maybe has a little distance, the communication is off, the intimacy isn't where you want it to be, they're not having enough fun anymore, all of those things. So today we're going to dive in with being honest about how you feel. So, are you ready?
Yeah.
And we'll be honest, this is take two on this because communication got a little wonky between the two of us, and nobody needed to see that part.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that Sonia and I have noticed, and I'm going to speak from my perspective. If I'm wrong, just tap in and
It's
we'll
no right or wrong. It's how you feel. So
Right.
go ahead.
So this morning, Sonia and I were talking about our failed intimate experience last night.
Failed attempt to have sex.
Right. Failed attempt to just be present with each other. And so we were talking about this morning, and we were sharing with each other, or I was sharing how I felt about it. Um, and for those of you that have been following along with us through our podcast episodes, know that this is not something that I've always done, and so it's still a challenge for me to do this, but I have to. So this morning I let Sonia know, when you don't show up in the time that we set up, I feel like our relationship, or I'm not important enough um, to spend time with, or to have your undivided attention. Um, so we, what's important is, like, if we don't say something about it, if we continue to hold that in, it's, this has happened a couple of different situations, and so it got to the point where it's like, okay, I need to say something about this, because I'm sure, and as Sonia expressed earlier, that that's not what she intends. And but if I don't say something about it, then she doesn't know. If I don't say that, when we set a time to spend the evening together, and you don't show up at that time, it makes it feel like that's unimportant. Um, and so then what happened last night is, because it felt like it was unimportant to Sonia, I made it unimportant to me, even though it was important to me. And I'm pretty sure it was important to you.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna get a little further than we did, but it didn't happen.
Right. Um, so being honest with each other can be uncomfortable, but when you speak up for how you feel about what's going on, um, it lets the other person know where you're coming from, right?
Yeah, because we've experienced it before where we don't say anything and we expect the other person to read our mind, which neither one of us are mind readers. Otherwise, we wouldn't be, or we'd be service doing that service instead of this one.
Right.
But I don't think that it's even possible for people to actually read your mind, because sometimes we can't even read our own mind. So nobody knows what you're thinking.
Exactly. Which is why it's important to be able to speak up and be honest about it.
Yeah. So our challenge is to bridge a gap. And I don't know how to do that.
And that's okay, because nobody is here to um, fix the issue. We want to talk about it. We want to shed light on it, so that um, because here's something else that we noticed last night. I think last night was about noticing some things. Is that when it feels unimportant to me, I'm not going to show up fully, and then that sends a message to you that I'm not showing up fully, so you don't have to show up fully. And then we both knew that we weren't showing up for each other, and yet we waited for the other person to say something, do something, take it in a different direction. But instead, we both did our own thing, and nobody was happy about it. you know Even though we tried to rectify the situation. We we still didn't make it um, important in that moment. So this isn't about like you should have done this or I should have done that. It's just being aware. It's like, okay, I noticed that we really avoided each other last night. So can we talk about that? You know, and the conversation can get honest at that point. It's like, okay, so it started off with this. This is what I recognized for me. What did you recognize for you? Yeah, and have that conversation so that maybe the next time you can attempt it differently. What I feel like I'm doing all the time talking. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think, well, yes, the neither one of us was completely committed.
Exactly.
And so there's the thing, how committed are we to each other?
Mm. Um, I'm very committed to you, extremely committed, and I want our relationship to be where we talked about it the other night, where we talked about being together on a weekly basis, where we talked about having, more physical touch,
Mm-hmm.
where we talked about like if we get into each other's way, which happens quite a bit in a 32-foot trailer, um, then touch the other person, hug the other person, kiss the other person, say goodnight to each other. All of it, all of those things we talked about the other night, and I heard what you were saying, and I I want that. I want all of that with you.
So if we both want that, then I don't understand where the barrier is. I don't understand.
I think that this barrier goes pretty far back. You and I have spent the last 2 years trying to figure out where it is that we're going. And so we've ended up in situations that didn't feed our relationship. And now we're trying to figure it out. It's like, okay, so how do we go back? We have moments where we go back and it's good, and then um, we get comfortable again and fall off track again, and or get injured, or and I think a lot of that is just sexy excuses that we've used, you know, over time. So yeah, there's a lot of honest conversation that needs to happen, so that we can get to the place where we're talking about what's truly going on and what do we want instead.
So what do you think is truly going on?
What do I think is going on? Um, for me, and I can only speak for me. It's that I haven't felt 100% important enough to have be in that intimate place, um, and um, it's gone back to being where I'm not going to ask for what I want because I don't want to be I don't want to be turned down. I don't like to be turned down. And ooh, yeah, this is a hard one. Um, and so it's easier for me to just not say anything. It's easier for me to just wait for you to come to the point where it's like, okay, it's been too long now. We need to do something about it. because it always comes down to that. It always, you always come back and say, um, it's been too long. We need to do something about it. And then we sit in this place. Um, what I was writing about the other day was that I need to, that I need to step back from feeling like I'm going to get shut down over it, and make the advance, or um, ask for what I want, and not worry about whether or not you're going to say, whatever excuse is going to be given. So that's where I am. I'm like really trying to get to a place where um, I'm not worried about being turned down. And, and that's not even that's not even true, because um, it takes it takes two to get into this situation, and if you're not 100% committed, then I back off. And I'm not trying to say that it's all on you. um, I have, I take my responsibility in it as well, because I should just, not accept all of, I should not accept excuses. And I should understand that it's like, maybe I needed to say yesterday, um, it's 6 o'clock. Do we need to push back 15, 20 minutes? So that I can know that it was as important to you as it was to me.
Okay. I don't I don't feel like you're not important to me.
And yeah, I know that.
So, like I was saying earlier, it's like it's this dance that we keep doing, and nobody's intentionally trying to make the other one feel unimportant or anything like that.
Right.
So, and that's the thing. So, where do we go?
Where do you want to go?
Well, I don't want to be here.
Okay. So where do you want to be instead?
Beyond this freaking gap.
Okay. So how are you going to bridge it?
Maybe just holding each other more responsible, more accountable, and being more intentional,
Okay.
and not allowing the other person to fluff off, I guess.
Okay. I like
So
that.
let's start with that.
I think that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, because it's not like it's not like I'm not interested in you,
Right.
or that I desire you, or I love you, or did I want to be intimate with you, and like lay in bed with you, and feel all the emotions and connection, all that stuff. Yeah, and we both want that.
Right.
It feels good.
Yes, it does.
So we just don't allow each other to get back into that dance that neither one of us is even having fun dancing anymore.
Exactly.
You know, it's not even a fun dance.
No, it's not.
It's like, oh, here we go again. Whatever. Okay.
So let's change the tune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So start with that.
I like that, because, and I don't want to break this all down, but I do want to draw some important points here. When you're in communication honestly with the person who you share your life with, You know, you're holding their feelings in your hands as well. You know, their feelings are important. Sonia's feelings are very important to me, as my feelings are important to her. She didn't she was not intentionally pushing me aside. um you know, this is just a place where we are. All relationships get into these places, and why we have to have honest conversations with our person is just for that, so that we can call each other out on the crappy things that we start to do to one another. And this is a crappy situation. You know, neither one of us feel good about where it is in our relationship. Neither one of us saw that this was where we wanted to be in our relationship. We would have never purposely gone here. So there's nobody that's at fault for it. But having the honest conversation gives us the opportunity to say, do you want to do this dance anymore? No, and neither do I. So instead, what do you want? What do you want to do? And we discussed that the other night before we even brought this conversation here.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't want to do this dance anymore. So um, changing the music, and we're going to uh, not give each other space to make the same choices again. You know, be accountable. It's like, um, if you ask me to show up for dinner at 6 o'clock, then guess where I'm going to be at 6 o'clock, because it's important.
Right.
You know, if you ask me, are you close to a stopping place because I would like to spend some time with you, then I'm going to figure out, and I'm going to say, okay, I need 5 minutes. Let me get to a stopping place, and then let's go do whatever it is that we need to do. Because something important is happening in that moment. You're showing, because that, in my world, actions speak louder than words. um, you can tell me I'm important all you want to, or you can show me how, you can tell me how much you love me, but if your actions are not showing it, then I feel that. um, so I'm showing Sonia that it's important, that she's important enough for me to stop at 6 o'clock like we previously agreed on, and to be present and accounted for at that time, so that we can go on and do the next thing that we wanted to do together. And her asking me if I can come to a stopping place, that shows to her that I hear her, that there's something else that needs to happen. And it's important. So I'm going to find a stopping place, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to be present for Sonia. That doesn't mean being present with my cell phone. That doesn't mean being present with, because we can pretend to be present all we want to. But being present is like being 100% available to Sonia. And last night we showed each other that we were not being present for each other. We don't want to do that again. So what do we want instead? We value each other very, very much, you know. Um, and so we're having honest conversations, and we're bringing our listeners into those honest conversations just the way that we always have, so that you can see that you have to give space and time. When don't try to fill the silent moments with words that don't mean anything. Let those silent moments happen, because you're processing something. Sonia is processing something. I'm processing something. You know, we need those moments in that conversation, so that we can like hear, not just with our ears, but with our bodies as well, to feel through our own emotions, and allow them to come through. If your wife cries, or your husband cries, don't shut them down for that. Recognize that those are strong feelings that they're having, and allow them to have those feelings, because those are honest for them. You know? Sonia and I think we've worked really hard to get to a place where we can have honest conversations, and sometimes they go to shit, which they
Yep.
did earlier. Um, and other times they come together and because they come together so nicely, we really hear what the other person is saying. We we really have the space to recognize, ooh, I did that. Okay, so what do I do next time? For me, it's if you're sitting at the computer, that wouldn't you rather be doing something else? You know, um, call out on it. That's what having honest conversations is about. Last night, someone could have said, "Put your phone down. Let's talk," or "Let's sit closer to each other and hold hands," or "Why don't you kiss me?" or something. Any one of those things would have been what I call a pattern interrupter. You know, because we use those patterns to avoid certain things. It's like, okay, well, earlier you made me feel like I wasn't important, so now I'm not going to let you feel like you're important to me because I'm going to cover up my feelings and I'm going to protect me, instead of going, hey, it's 6 o'clock and I just want to check in. Do you need a few extra minutes, so that we can be present for each other? That would have been the better thing to do last night. Or
Yeah,
when we
probably.
came inside, it would have been better to it's like, hey, want to go play some kissing games? you know, whatever it took. But instead, we both were like, okay, well, we know we want to do something, but I don't know what she's thinking, and she doesn't know what I'm thinking. So now I'm just gonna go and do something bullshit, and nothing's gonna happen. And then tomorrow morning, we're both gonna wake up, and we're both gonna be like, what the hell? What the hell happened?
Nothing.
Nothing happened.
That's exactly what happens. I didn't know what you were thinking, and vice versa. Instead of
Exactly.
asking, like, "Hey, we're still gonna do this?
Yeah. Oh, did I say
Still
that out loud?
interested?
Yeah.
Something? Yeah." So, yeah, like we discussed, we're just not gonna allow each other to back off.
Exactly. Exactly. Because who doesn't want these big brown eyes and these gorgeous lips? Um, I do. And if if you're trying to come together and you're having the honest conversations and it's still not working out, just keep talking about it. Something that Sonia and I had recognized a while back ago, and I, I, I think we let it slip. We noticed that I lost my train of thought. Oops, hang on, it'll come back. We noticed that we were trying to reconnect from the space that we'd always connected from before. And that instead we needed to connect from the new space where we are. Well, maybe that's the same situation again. We need to connect from where we are right now and not trying to figure out like all of this extra stuff. We need to just connect. And then once the connection starts to become more regular, then we can start to go, do you still like that? You know, or we talk about this too, having conversations, even in intimate moments. It's like, is that something you even still like, or is there something you would like instead? Because it doesn't have to be the same way as it's always been. Again, honest conversation all the time. Honest. If you see your partner doing something that makes you feel unseen, unheard, undervalued, whatever, bring it up. Bring it up. Yeah, 20 minutes of hurt feelings or whatever, but I guarantee you this: they heard you. Did you hear me? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I heard her. Now, what we do with that,
Yeah.
Sometimes it could be from one extreme to
Yeah.
the other, which is what happened this morning. or this afternoon or whatever time it did. Um, but I heard her and she heard me. And even though we didn't come to some kind of agreement in the moment that we wanted to, guess what happened? She still heard me. I still heard her. And
Still talking.
we're still talking. And in our minds, we're both trying to figure out, okay, so where's the compromise? Where is that compromise going to be? I know my wife. She's going to figure out where the compromise is for her. And I know me too. I'm going to figure out where the compromise is for me as well. Because we don't want to argue over baloney stuff. Um, there's we have space and time to do and be and have everything that we want right now. You really want to spend time on that? I don't. She doesn't. But we
Well,
do.
whatever it is, it's not like one sin's no greater than the other.
No,
It's a legit thing, so it's not ridiculous or silly. It's a thing that needs to be talked about.
right. And it needs to be talked about
So-
honestly. And even if
Yeah, without well,
even if the conversation did not go the way that you wanted it to, the biggest part is this: you were honest, I was honest, you were honest, I heard you and you heard me. Most important thing that's happening in that particular moment, because guess what, this has not been the way that it's always been done. Maybe this is something new in your relationship. It is in ours.
yeah. So it's like we're like I mean, if you've ever been a supervisor or superintendent or you have people working for you or with you, it's and then you're having to make decisions. It's always been for me that my decisions are always will always only be as good as the information that I'm given, right? So
Yes.
based on the information, that's where I'm going to make my decision. So like this morning, Carolyn gave me information, I gave her information. Now we're both committed to make decisions on all that information, not half, not holding back on certain things or only saying certain things or bringing forward certain things. We need all the information. So I brought everything to the table as far as how I felt about certain things, and so did she. And so now we're going to be both committed to, like you said, use that information and figure out what it is that we need to do. I don't like compromise. It's like it's like giving up.
Is compromising really giving up?
It's giving up. It's like,
If we find a solution that works for both sides,
okay, so then that sounds better to me. It's like compromising to me means I have to give up something to make you happy.
solutions are the same way, though. Everybody has to put in all of their information. You need to go based on all of that information and come up with something that works for everybody.
But it's not going to work for everybody
It's
because
not.
you're not getting 100% what you want,
Right?
and I'm not getting 100% of what I want. So it's not working for everybody. So there's no compromising, right?
Right.
So, but besides that, we have information and we need to figure it out.
Yes.
So, based on all of that, honest information,
Honest information.
and then we come up with an honest something.
An honest next step.
Okay, an honest next step. Yeah. So, going from there.
Right.
So, yeah. And you have to be honest, even if it comes out brutal, it's how you're feeling at the moment. But I'm not saying be mean, I'm just saying this is how I freaking feel. This is like we were watching the couples therapy and the one gal was saying, I feel like I'm in a sleeping bag. It's like, well, unzip the freaking sleeping bag and get out. But is it that easy? It should be, you know? So you have to be honest with how you're feeling. And then on top of that, if you have a problem, then have a freaking solution. But it's not that easy all the time because you're not just thinking for yourself. You have someone else who has feelings.
Mhm.
Like you said earlier, you're not the only one that's living here. I'm not the only one living here. You are too. So then I have to think about you as well, and vice versa.
Right.
You know. So I heard what you said about, well, if it's too hot, leave the AC at 72 and just go put a jacket on. So it's 72 and you're hot, so just go get naked.
I like that.
And I would be totally okay with it as long as no one else can see me. Right? Because I would be more than happy to just walk around naked all day. That would be cool. Like literally. So, but yeah, you're right. We both live together here, and we both, I mean, we have dogs, but I'll be like, hey, well, dog, there's a blanket. It's a dog. It's not gonna say anything back to me.
No, but your
So-
wife will. But
So
something is something that you said there is important. Um, when you're having an honest conversation, have the next conversation about what Sonia sees as a solution and what I see as a solution. You know, take into consideration both sides of it. You don't have to come to the table with a solution that's going to be perfect and ready for everybody, but just come to the table with some kind of an idea about what you want the next step to be. Because um, 10 years ago, it would have been great for us to come to the table with at least something, you know, but one of us would come and the other one would just go, okay, yeah, I agree with that, you know. um, and that wasn't a solution. That wasn't even a compromise. That was just flat out making sure that the other person was taken care of in the situation without regard to this, to the oneself. So what I want you to get from this is that even if you come to the table with a solution that is one-sided, at least you came to the table with something.
Right.
Because something builds to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, and then the next thing you know, you're out of that situation.
you have to have something to talk about.
Exactly.
You have to have some ideas to come up with some kind of solution. You can't just complain and not have an idea. It's like still again back to when we're both, you know, in the workforce. It's like don't come to me complaining unless you have a solution
Right.
or whatever the solution. It may not be the right solution, but at least come, like you're saying, to the table with something, and then we can talk about that. And then if it ends up being that, it ends up being that. If it works, it works.
Right. One other thing that I want to call attention to here is this. If we want something different in our relationship, then we have to be willing to do something different in order to get there. Because if we just allow ourselves to keep going in the same way because we don't want to rock the boat, because we don't want to feel pushed off, because we don't want to have a one-sided conversation, whatever the sexy excuse is that you want to give to yourself in that moment, if we continue to do those things, then we're going to be sitting in the same place over and over and over again. You've seen this with Sonia and I. We want something different. We have to be committed to doing something different. So here in this moment, I am committed to having honest conversations with you about when I see us getting trapped in the same pattern and saying it's unacceptable.
Change the playlist.
Exactly. So that's what I'm going to bring to this situation. Is it going to correct it overnight? Maybe it will. that would be a beautiful thing. Maybe it won't, but it's giving us a place to work on.
It's being acknowledged of that.
Right. Because I can say I love Sonia all day long. I can tell her that she's beautiful and I desire to be with her. But until she's ready to make that step in, we're going to sit in the same direction instead of saying, babe, I need to not be afraid to say that I have wants, needs, and desires in our relationship. And you have wants, needs, and desires in our relationship. So, what do you want? Because I want it too.
Just have to make it happen.
Exactly. So, if you don't like the direction that you're going in your relationship right now, stop it. You have complete control and autonomy over how you feel, how you receive things from other people, and where you go next. Because if Sonia doesn't have all the information, she's not going to know where to go next. If I don't have all the information, I'm not going to know where to go next. And we're just going to keep doing the same ridiculous dance.
Driving in a circle.
Yeah. You can't,
Which
get
is
to your
fun,
destination.
maybe 1 or 2 times around the circle, but after that, it's like, okay, now what?
right.
I'm bored. Let's change direction.
Right. You
here.
can't go left to get to someplace that's on the right hand side.
Right.
So, um, I hope, no, I don't hope. Hope is,
Hear
I-
us.
I trust that in us having open, honest conversations through our podcast, that you take something into your relationship, that you find a tool, an idea, a direction that you want to move into with your person. Because we're with our person for a reason. I chose to spend my time with Sonia because I love being around her. And every day I love to be around her. Well, just kidding. No, even on the bad days, she's still the person who I want to share my day with. Even in the worst situations, there isn't anybody that I'd rather share that with than Sonia. And I'm going to I'm going to make an assumption here that that's what it is for you in your relationship. We go through trials in our relationships. We go through good times and bad times, and times where there's lots of laughter and times where there's more tears than there is laughter. We have times where we're super, super close, and we have times where, we're like waiting for the next rainfall to happen in a drought. Um,
Ow.
what, whatever it is in your relationship, take something from our experience and move it into yours. Take what we're sharing with you and make your relationship stronger and better, because that's what we're doing through this podcast. And if you need support, we're here.
Not if, when, because it's inevitable.
Right.
Everybody, it happens, and it's
Right.
okay. There's no shaming, or you're not a failure or anything like that. It's just gonna happen. It happens to everyone.
Right.
Every color, every gender, every relationship, every situation, whatever. It happens. We're humans. We're not perfect, and we're always going to do something that's not going to be satisfying or pleasing to anyone around you, not just your partner.
Right.
Because we
Even
don't
our
think,
dogs.
yeah, we don't think alike. We want to say that we think alike. Oh, how cute, we finish each other's sentences. I don't like that, because that's why are you taking part of me? It's mine.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So when you need that support, reach out to us, because this is what we're here for. This is the whole reason why we go through these podcasts Sometimes we don't want to be here, but we are because it's important for us to show full vulnerability,
Yes.
full honesty, and to say, hey, you guys are, we're just as fucked up as y'all, if
Right.
that's the case. And I know it is in many cases. So um, we know for a fact that everyone listening at some point is going to need support, if not right now. And if that's the case, that's what we're here for. So we have our website, all our links are Googleable. So just reach out and let us guide you in the way that's good for you, for your relationship, for your unique relationship, because all relationships are unique and they're just, yes, we're all human and we all love each other, and that's like the foundation of everything. But there's so many different dynamics. There's kids, there's no kids, there's gay, lesbian, transgender, um, X, Y, and Z. Maybe it's an age difference, and we finally came to a point. We are fortunate that we are like the same age, 6 months apart, if that, so we get to experience the same things, back to back. But whatever the situation is, whatever support that you need, I'm gonna say 9 out of 10, we got it.
Right.
Because we've been together for over 20 years now, and we've have experienced a lot, and we still continue to this point experience a lot every day, every day.
Yeah.
So we're here. Use
Right.
us.
Okay. So here's a way that you can use us. Send us an email and ask to get into a conversation. One conversation with us to see where you are, what doors might need to be opened up in your relationship, what boundaries you want to set for your relationship, what new direction you want to go into your relation, where the conversations are not happening that you want them to happen, and see if we can support you through that. All right?
Sounds fair.
Right.
So,
So one conversation can change a whole lot of stuff just to see if we are the couple that can help and support, not help, support you and your relationship just with
move
your
you,
person.
move you back in the direction that you need to go in and get you out of that roundabout.
Right. Because we all get off path. That's plain and simple. We all get off path. So we're going to continue this conversation. Today we talked about being honest in our relationships because we want to bridge that gap. We don't want that distance between us. I don't want distance between Sonia and I. That's not a comfortable place for me.
Yeah. Like for us, bridging that gap was being honest, gathering up all of our honest information. And now that we know what we need to work with, which we've had for a while, but it's like, okay, enough with the bullshit. We have the information. We've had the information. Now we have more information. So
Where do we want?
now we're sitting at the table and we're gonna table that and make decisions. So that's the next step, is bridging the gap, is going forward with the information. And then like you were saying, this is kind of like a series of all these steps to get to the point where ultimately asking for what it is that you need in your relationship.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that because we're going to have all of that information. And once we're done talking about it, we should know what we want.
Right.
Because we definitely stand tall and dig in our heels with what we don't want.
Right.
So what do we want?
Exactly. Yes. Yay.
So
yes.
At the end of the series, we'll figure out what it is that I want and what you want, and then what we want together.
Exactly. So be honest with each other, because if you're only working with partial information, you can't go forward. You don't want to do the dance anymore, change the music. And we're going to talk next about sharing your fears. And we did a little bit here, but we'll go deeper into that. And the other part is get the support that you need. Get into a conversation with us and see how we can support you and your person to get to the next place that you want to go.
Yeah, I wish when we started out, not so much when we started out, but maybe a few years in,
Yeah.
that we could have reached out to somebody like us,
Yep.
on YouTube or podcast, or listen to somebody and say, hey, they're just as fucked up as I am. What's the number? How can I reach them? I want to talk to these people. What
Right.
did you do? How did you fix that? What's still in the works? How do you stay out of that?
Yes.
So yeah. So if you're that person or that couple that wants support, just freaking reach out, because I, for one, and obviously by Carolyn's response, would be it, would have loved to have someone like, hey, Sonia and Carolyn was like, hey, Tom and Jerry, hey, let's listen to those guys.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whatever gender, these are human beings in situations, and they're talking about it because it's not isolated. We all go through it. So yeah, I would, reach out to us, because if I were you, I would be reaching out to us, definitely.
Right. Right. All right. So we will see you next time, where we're going to talk about sharing our fears.
Ooh.
Could be dangerous. Just kidding.
No, it's not.
Nothing is dangerous. Information is good. It's what you do with the information when you receive it. So let's move forward. Bye for now.
All right. We're curious. What are your top 3 non-negotiables that are a must for your relationship? For us, it's love, safety, and belonging. With that being said, what conversations will you start having to learn more about your relationship?
For more information, check out our website, soniaandcarolyn.com. Our social media links are listed there for you. Let us know what inspired you in this episode. Until our next conversation, keep exploring your relationship.